Good afternoon and welcome to today's stream. My name is Hugh Brown with Liftoff Global Network. We are here in our HQ in Pinewood Studios. Today I'm going to be going through the jury highlights for our Paris Film Festival. This is my second time doing one of these streams. Some of you might have tuned in for the last stream that I did. For those of you who have joined us for the first time, what we're going to be doing is discussing a film from each of our programs within the festival. The ones that the jury really loved, and we'll just be sharing some insights as to what it is that makes them so loved by the jury. You know, just going through them one by one, just looking at them. Claire is in the chat with us today, so if anyone has any questions or any comments they'd like to share, then don't be afraid to hop on and we'll obviously get to them as quick as we can. If you enjoyed the stream, then be sure to click that subscribe button, because then you can get notified whenever we go live for future streams or any future uploads related to any of our festivals. Be sure to check out our social media channels on Instagram, on Facebook and Twitter, or the Liftoff website. And for those of you that are on the Members Hub, just keep monitoring the activity there. There's always fun stuff going on, and obviously the Liftoff team are all in there to chat with you guys and answer any questions or queries. Without further ado, let's get started. We're going to be talking about the Trendsetter shorts first. The first one we'll be looking at is called Alexsan, which is directed by Killian Thomas. I'll just read the log line. Matthew and Alexsan are living the perfect love story. But while the idyll of the first days gives way to routine, Alexsan gradually becomes aware of her condition. With a long line like that, you can sort of interpret it any which way. The twist with this, I say twist, it's, the proof is in the pudding. It's a sci-fi love story. It's one that I would personally describe as kind of the antithesis of something like Her. Just some really, heart-wrenching. I saw one reviewer describe it. There's just, I think the key selling point for me, it's the chemistry with the actors. When you're shooting a film with a couple, the chemistry with the actors, it has to matter, because otherwise it just doesn't work. And I was sort of thinking quite humorously, do they just go into a random couple's house and just kind of, start shooting away? Because they just, I can't be convinced that these two leads aren't a couple in real life is the thing. It's this great opening montage where we just get this 360 of what their life is, I must give compliments to the best performance in the film, which came from a toaster, which goes off at a really dramatic point in the film. I jest, but just a really good examination example of directorial timing in that regard. The comedy beat was just injected just right into that. So compliments to Killian Thomas for that. And I'll touch upon the sci-fi element a little bit. It is, again, it's just a bit like Her. In Her, that was about a man who falls in love with an artificial intelligence. In this case, Alexsan, who is a being created to be the perfect partner to the right buyer, she kind of becomes self-aware and understands that she's made to be someone's love interest. But obviously, her having genuine feelings for her partner, it just kind of, it's crushing. But it's just some really great drama, and the world building. It's so simple, but it's just so beautifully illustrated, just in how gradually the audience is getting little bits of information as to what kind of society it is that these people live in, what the dynamics of this sci-fi world are. But one of the key ingredients to that is just the architecture. When you look at things, lots of people cite Denis Villeneuve with the Blade Runner film he did, and sort of Dune, with how the architecture sort of helps build the world and how it just has that right aesthetic to complement the genre. I can definitely see that in Alexsan as well. I'm not sure where they shot it, somewhere in France presumably, but it just just a really beautiful looking, and as I say, it's such an effective drama. Honestly, it's one I can't recommend highly enough. We'll move on to our next Trendsetter short now. It is called Becoming Black Lawyers. When these 5 black lawyers set out on their journeys to receive a professional legal education, they did not realize that they would have to struggle against additional battles, even more challenging than the rigors of learning the law in a hyper-competitive environment. They discover the contradictions of studying in an institution that idealistically represents justice for all. It's such a gripping logline there, and an even more gripping documentary. I think, the the politics of race in the United States is a topic that, it's always, important to look into it and just sort of see how over time the politics have changed and also kind of not changed. Because seeing the testimonies from these lawyers, it was kind of shocking to see that they still have this constant, they're constantly having to fight to sort of, to prove that they have to be there. And obviously that shouldn't be the case at all. There's one testimony where one of the lawyers recounts an incident where it was her second day of her law school degree or something like that. And she was sitting down, getting ready for the lecture. And she said that a white girl came up to her and said, "You're in my friend's seat." And, the lawyer was sort of thinking, well, this is only the second day. The seat doesn't have anyone's name on it. And then the white girl replied with, "No, you're in my friend's seat. She should have got in, but you got in instead." And I just sat there thinking, goodness me, like how I just can't picture how someone could say that to someone. And, it's again, it just proves it's such an important discussion that still needs to be had and, have until, things start to change, really. And it's interesting. So the director is Evangeline M. Mitchell, who is a lawyer herself. So she basically, it's the mark of a great visionary director is that she channeled her own experiences, her own views on her profession into a film. As far as I can tell, this is the first film she's made, and, way to hit the ground running. Like, honestly, compliments to that. And, again, I'm sure lots of people who are aspiring to be lawyers who are black in America, they must see this and get so much kind of, motivation and inspiration from these subjects. It was all so well put together. The director's statement, I think I'll just read it now because I was thinking about it just before we went live, just, how I'm going to do justice to these words as they're written. "This project is what I would consider heart work because I have long felt that the experiences of black lawyers in white law schools were stories that needed to be told and that the world needed to hear them. The paradox of going to a place that is supposed to represent and stand up for equal justice, which at the very same time was a place where black students were treated unfairly and with hostility, never sat right with me." And that's only an excerpt. On the Film Freeway page, you can read the full director's statement. Just really, really powerful words. This is a really inspiring documentary to watch. And, I like films that make me think about certain topics or sort of the way the world is now. And yeah, this documentary has it in spades. I'm just going to quickly mention the black and white cinematography as well. It just added a certain edge to, how good the film was. Black and white cinematography, I'm a sucker for it anyway. And it just really, really worked in this regard. So yeah, that is Becoming Black Lawyers. We're going to move on to our new voice shorts now. And the first film we'll be looking at is Father Tell Me, which is directed by Gregory Nagaev. The logline reads as such: Cristiano, a teenage boy, is oppressed by his strict religious family lifestyle. His traditional autocratic father gives him an ultimatum during a lunch after Cristiano is suspended from his school. Later in the day, he goes to the planned meeting with Pastor Matthew in the church. However, things in the church take a dramatic turn after he meets a girl. There's not much more detail I can go into in that regard because it would give it away. You really got to experience this as blind as possible. It's just a very well set up drama. I think the intense performances of this thing, just coupled with the dialogue, it just helps build up that drama so much. It's just a good utilization of the chief tools of making drama into making, an effective drama. There's a good use of focus pulling in there as well. Focus pulling can kind of go either way for me. Sometimes I find it really distracting. I've seen lots of films where it's obviously done for an aesthetic effect, but it just doesn't quite hit the timing right, or it's not really suited to the moment. But in this regard, it's used to kind of symbolize the disconnect of the main character. He's just kind of trying to drown himself out of this constant lecturing that he seems to be subjected to. I just think it was really effectively used in the film, and it, gives the audience an idea of where the character's head's at, which, visually it can be quite hard to do. Sometimes people make it look easy to do, I think one film that sprang to mind when looking at this, certainly with regards to the ending, without giving too much away, it's a lot like The Graduate in that regard, where Benjamin sort of feels trapped in kind of this endless cycle of, doing what's expected of him, and then he finds quite a dramatic but satisfying escape. And again, I can't really go into too much detail. But yeah, it's just a really, really unique, interesting examination into sort of the dynamics of a strict Catholic family, with a new spin on it as well. Because sometimes you see a lot of these films that kind of tackle that sort of religious dynamic, and they can either seem a bit sort of similar or, oh, you know, we've seen this storyline before. But with this one, there's just that special something about it. A lot of it, I think, is just due to the ending. But again, I honestly, I might spill it. So I think I'll quickly move on to the next film, which is Possible, which is directed by Jules Goulion. It's a documentary, and it's about an organisation I wasn't totally aware of. I think we have similar equivalents in the UK, but this one's in France. It's a short documentary showing 3 French young people who had some various difficulties in their life until they took part in a youth incitation programme proposed by an Eastern France association. You'll see Alexis, Ali, Emile talking about their life before, what they do inside the programme, what it gives to them, and how they are now. This is a true life experience which is told here, and also a way for us to relativize our own daily problems. Again, just, you know, much like the previous logline for Becoming Black Lawyers, just really powerful words that are very hard to sort of do justice when you say them out loud. Just, yeah, a really, really uplifting series of success stories for people who have just been dealt not a great hand. You know, those documentaries are always interesting to watch because it just puts things into perspective for you a little bit. Sometimes we take for granted how, you know, some of us have had it quite easy in life and others have had it quite hard, and it's sort of kind of the miracle of the human spirit as to how they can pick themselves back up and move forward. And a lot of it is thanks to this program. They talk a lot about the kinds of therapy that these young people do with this program. There's equine therapy and there's some art therapy as well, which is it's something that never really crossed my mind, but just looking at how the dynamics of it, how it sort of works and what the benefits are, you know, it's something I'll be looking at when I get home, I expect, you know, just sort of fall down the Wikipedia hole. It ends with a quote, which I'm going to read to you now. It's just one, again, I've been thinking about it since I saw it. About the future, you don't have to plan it, but to make it possible, which is where the title comes from. That was said by a French writer, if I'm pronouncing this name right. So it's Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Again, I'll fall down the Wikipedia hole with this guy as well because, yeah, I think that's a great quote. It symbolises sort of the through line, as my old lecturer liked to say, of the documentary. It sets out the purpose of it, what it means to do for its audience. Yeah, just to uplift you. It's just a really, really nice pick-me-up little documentary. We've got 2 features to look at now. And the first one is called Singone Irony, which is directed by Hinata Ishihara, which is it's from Japan. I love Japanese cinema. It's always been kind of a favorite. So, you know, you have my attention instantly if it's a Japanese film, you know. This is an excerpt of the logline. The full synopsis is on the Film Freeway page, and if it's not enough to suck you into the film, then, you know, I don't know what to do. So, Takashi Hirai is the 17th abbot of Hoshuji, which is a temple in the Omuru school of Shingon Buddhism. Hirai leads a busy life as he also teaches in the Japanese literature department at a women's university. Unexpected for a priest. Hirai's easygoing, dynamic, and seemingly random personality often upsets others, yet his sheer charisma attracts an unwavering faith from his students, the university faculty, and the supporters of his temple. The film documents how Hirai created interweaving connections amongst key individuals in the young Hinata's life. So the director of this film, the main character is the director. He has essentially written a story about his own life, which, you know, I think now, you know, biographies are obviously a quick way to sort of get your life down on paper. It's seldom that I recall, certainly, that people have channeled their own experiences into a story that they've created. It's always interesting when that happens. The director's statement reads as such. It's very simple, but I think it's so effective. Meeting this man and making this movie have changed my life. You know, what more can you add to that, really? I think, you know, it's so inspiring that this teacher, this mentor for this man just had this most profound impact, that he channeled it all into a film. It's just, you know, what a media format to channel it into as well. And one that looks so good. There's some great cinematography in this, the lighting, the colors. It's just so, it paints a picture. It really, really transports you to Japan, essentially. It's a country I haven't visited yet, but I'd really like to. And films like this just make me want to like go online and book a ticket right now. I might just do it when the stream's finished, you know. I'd say if I was to compare it to, off the top of my head, it's very like Dead Poets Society. Just a film that's about connecting with another human being who inspires you to be the best version of yourself. again, much like the previous film, it's just a great pick-me-up. I think watch it when you sort of feel like you're sort of boxed in, or you feel you don't have a direction, because it's just nice to see stories where characters just connect so, poignantly, and just how they're able to, lift each other up. Again, I could go on about it for hours. It's a really, really nice feature. I'd highly recommend giving it a go. The last film we're going to be talking about, it's another feature. It's a documentary called The Swarm, Campaign XY Flying High. It's directed by Ilka Franzmann. It's a German film. The logline reads as such. So France's world-famous Compagnie XY is making a splash with its latest creation, Möbius. The piece is being hailed as a major breakthrough, the development of a new physical language. Möbius virtuously combines world-class acrobatics with contemporary dance, experimenting with the flocking behavior of birds. The Swarm explores the fluid grammar of the language and discovers its shallows, the human ego, at the zenith of success. The planned tour bursts because of COVID-19. All guest performances are cancelled. Only the renowned Grec Festival invites the company. After 4 months of forced break, the artists meet again. They have only 10 days to rehearse the complex choreography. But at the start of rehearsals, one of the main flyers gets sick. And this is not the only challenge. And yeah, again, going to try and keep my lips sealed on this one. But yeah, it's just amazing. Again, like so many of us, the pandemic presented challenges for all of us and obstacles to climb. And, this was a big one for them. This company, it's kind of their livelihood was sort of at stake. And the fact that they allowed a documentary crew to come in and sort of document all this going on. I think with a lot of these sorts of fly-on-the-wall documentaries, the audience, certainly I do, I tend to get a sense of when I know that, these are a bunch of guys working or rehearsing, and they know that the documentary crew are there and they're annoying them to death. Sometimes you could just see it in sort of the subjects, be it sort of the odd disgruntled look at the camera. But in this fly on the wall, you're so taken out of that. It just effectively captures the process of the company and the work without it obviously seeming like there's a doc crew present, in that regard. And as I say, just the showcasing of like the craft, the gymnastics and the aerobatics, it rivals that of Cirque du Soleil. It's a show I'd really like to see someday. Just, as documentaries go, it's a feature. It's just under the 1 hour mark, but it's just so rewarding just to see this journey and how, this company just, prospered even in the face of, the big pandemic, which shut everything else down. It's always good to read success stories like that. Yeah. Okay, that is all the films done for today. Thanks very much for tuning in. Obviously, I hope everyone gets a chance to check out all of these magnificent films. All the details are on the Film Freeway pages, or perhaps you can find them on the internet somewhere. And yeah, we will see you